Daniel here for Tabletop for One. Please join me at the table as I teach and play through The Infection, Roll, Write, and Fight. And I thank you for joining me for this tutorial and solo playthrough of The Infection, Roll, Write, and Fight. The Infection is designed by Marek Vogelsinger, and it is published by Heavy Punch Games, and it's coming to Kickstarter later at the end of this month. I'll put a link to the Kickstarter page in my description. Now in Infection, Roll, Write, and Fight, you are a survivor in a city that has been overrun by the Turned. They are seekers, pukers, and hunters. And so you're going to be going to different locations, scavenging supplies, all trying to complete one of the objectives that you've chosen for your scenario. Now the setup is very simple. You just need some dice. You can do colored dice if you'd like. It makes it a little bit easier. You need a dry erase pen if you've laminated your sheets, or just a regular pen or pencil to write on. Now at the start of the game, you're going to choose one of the objectives to try and go for. There are 4 objectives here, so you're going to check one of these boxes here to indicate which one you're going to go for. The first one here wants you to level up 3 times, and you level up by defeating 3 enemies. There's your tracker here that shows how much experience you get until you level up, and you'll see these arrows here mark those level up points. And so you need to defeat 9 enemies in order to do that. This next one here is to gather and collect 5 fuel. This one here is to complete 6 different locations. And this last one here is to make your way all the way to location 1A. Now each of these objectives have you starting in a different area on the map. They're signified by the blue areas here. And so if you choose the fuel one, then you're going to start down here and try and make your way gathering all that fuel. Whereas if you start the level up one, you're going to start up here. And I think that's the one we're going to choose for this playthrough. We'll choose the level up one. So I need to level up 3 times to win. And then you're going to get your starting resources. Now the resources are shown in the bottom left-hand corner. So you can either just use those numbers or write the current numbers. And so it's 2, 1, and 3. 2 food, 1 fuel, and 3 search. And then over here, you have your stats for your survivor. I'll go over what these mean, but you can copy the numbers in the lower left-hand corners of those boxes. So 3, 1, 2, 1, and 1. And that's it for setup. Now, like I said before, the goal of the game is to complete one of these objectives, and we're trying to complete this one here. And so the moment that we complete that objective, then we win the game. Now, if we have no more health, then we're defeated. And if at any point I deplete my resources to where I cannot move on the city map, then the game ends there and I lose. Alright, so let's talk about some of the gameplay aspects here. The game consists of you moving on this map, heading to a location, going through that location and making your way through if you survive, and then coming back to the main map and going to another location. The way you get to move to a location is by the use of food and fuel. Well, you can use either or both, depending on how far you want to move. Now we are starting all the way up here where this arrow is. And so it's kind of hard to see, but there are hex grids all around here. So between this location and this location is 2 spaces. So it's going to take me 2 movement to get there. So I can either spend 2 food, which I have, or 1 fuel to get to that point. So either this point here, or this one here, or this one here. Now you can see the different locations have some information. They'll tell you what kind of resources you're going to find there. Or there's a question mark of what kind of resources. You don't know what you're going to get there. So it could be any of the types of resources. And so all you do is you just reduce the amount of resources that you're spending to move to that location, draw a line. Let's say we went to this location to be here. I could get rid of my fuel here to pay for the cost of that movement, and then we move on to that location. We'll do that in just a moment. But sometimes you'll want to supply or resupply before you go into a location. And the way you do that is by gearing up with some of the gear that is here. Now each of these items has a cost. There's a cost to search for those items wherever you are on the map. And so the brick here costs 1 search, as signified by the magnifying glass. The hammer, the bat, the knife, the gun, and the medikit here all require 2 search in order to search for them. And so you just spend search like a resource. And now you can convert some of your resources into search. So you can convert one food into one search, or one fuel into one search, or two searches into one fuel if you need to. And so before we head out on this mission, we may want to gear up because we might want a weapon that we want to use, or we might want a med kit or something like that. Or we might want a brick that we can throw, So we may want to have some uses available. Now, when you gain one of these items, you're just going to put a check mark right here to signify that you currently own the item. Each of the white boxes for these items signify how many uses you have of that item before you run out. The other two stats besides the search stat here refer to, the middle one refers to the dice, how many dice you roll when you try to activate it. This one here refers to the range, so how many spaces you can throw this particular item, or with the gun, how many spaces you can shoot. The bat gives you a good amount of reach, so you're able to swing into the next space to hit something. So that's what that's for. Now, when you use an item, you're going to be rolling dice. So in the case of the brick here, you're going to roll one die. And so when you roll the dice, you're going to compare your result to the numbers below that item. So if you see here with the brick, it's if you roll a 1 or a 2, it does nothing. But if you roll a 3 or a 4, it does a blunt attack. If you roll a 5 or a 6, it does a sharp attack. And it's a similar thing with the hammer here, but you have more uses, but you can't throw it. The knife attack only does sharp attacks. And then the bat only does blunt attacks. And then the gun does ranged attacks or bullet attacks. And all these different attacks are used for specific monsters. You'll see over here, these are the kinds of monsters you're going to be encountering as you move through these areas. You have the Seekers, which are fast zombies, or fast turned. They run real fast and try and get you. But what it shows you here on the right is what type of weapon you can use to kill that particular turned. You can't just use any weapon. So the Seeker requires sharp weapons to kill it. The Puker requires a blunt weapon to kill it. And then the Hunter here requires a gun to kill it. So in order to kill these particular enemies, you have to have the right kind of weapon. And I'll talk about what these enemies do and how they activate when we get to that point. Now the medkit is a completely different item. The medkit lets you heal, and so you'll be able to heal up to 2 times using the medkit because there are 2 uses for it. You're going to roll dice and compare, and any roll 3 or more is going to gain you a health. And your health is tracked here on your survivor stats here. So you start out with 5 health. As you get damaged, you'll cross these out. If you cross them all out, you're dead. There's one thing I want to talk about is you can only spend the search resource to roll an extra die, or you can adjust the die by plus or minus 1 depending on what you'd like to do. All right, the moment that you enter a location, let's say we entered into 2B here, you're going to find the sheet that shows the 2s. And so I have the number 2 buildings here, and 2B is found right here. You'll see the 2B in the upper left-hand corner of that area. So let's talk about each of the different locations. So there's an S here, which is a starting point. That is going to be the placement of you. You're going to start in that room there. So you're going to place the die there with the value of 3. The value signifies nothing but turn order. So that's going to signify when you get to act as opposed to the enemies. Now, some of the rooms have resources in them. So this room already shows a food there. This one shows a magnifying glass, so a search token there. And this last one shows a blank one. For each of the blank ones that are in that building that you're entering, you're going to roll, and then you're going to compare this result to the low right-hand corner on your map here. And so it shows that there's a fuel there. So I'm going to put an F for fuel because I can't draw that fuel can very well. So we've got a fuel there if I want to pick it up. And these white symbols in the upper right-hand corner of some of these spaces refer to the turned. And so you're going to have to roll dice for each of them. So first we're going to start off with the upper left-hand corner one, and that's a 2, and we'll place that there. Now if you roll a 3, then you're not going to place it at all. You're just going to skip that one. So we're rolling for this one here, and it's a 4, so we'll place it right there. And then the last one, we're rolling for this one, and it's another 4. All right, so these signify the types of turned that you're going to encounter. This is a seeker. You'll see right here on the side of the seeker, there's a 1 and a 2, whereas there's a 4 and a 5 for the puker, and a 6 for the hunter. So there are no hunters here, just a couple pukers and a seeker. And so they're going to get in our way as we try and get through this area. Now there's a couple other things I haven't talked about. The red areas, or those red lines, refer to impassable walls, so you can't get through them. The arrows here are the exit. So when you move off this area, you're out and you can leave this area. And then the yellow barred areas with numbers in them, those refer to areas that you can demolish, you can break your way into. And so let's talk about the different actions you have. They all correspond to the stats that you have as a survivor here. So your first stat is how many actions you have each turn. So you start out with 3 actions per turn. This next one here refers to how many items in your backpack that you've acquired that you can use per turn. So you can only start out using 1 per turn. This next one tells you how many move actions you can take per turn. So you're only allowed 2 move actions, and move actions only let you move 1 space at a time. And then this next one here tells you how many times you can pick up items in a turn. And this last one here is how many times you can demolish in a turn. And so these stats here can be increased over time, and they correspond to you leveling up. Again, if you killed 3 different zombies, you'll level up and you can increase one of these stats by 1. And so you can level up a maximum of 3 times. Of course, if we level up 3 times by the end of the game, then we will have won the game. So when you encounter a location, you want to consider, the different resources available and whether or not you want to encounter the enemies. Or you can just make a line for the exit and try and get out of there before anything happens. So first we check to see who goes first. And since we have a seeker, their number is 2, the lowest numbers go first. Now the turned arrow is going to try and attack you, and so they're going to move within range to do so. Now the seekers have 0 range, which means that they need to be in the same space as me in order to attack me. And so they're going to move 3 spaces, and they'll go 1, 2, and 3 like so. And so now it's the player's turn, and so you can just decide to attack or run. It's up to you. Now, as a reminder, you have 2 movement max, so you can only move twice in a turn, even though you have 3 actions. You can only move twice. So if I move this way, the next turn these guys are going to catch up and attack me. And so the way attacking works, let's say it was their turn and they moved 1 and then 2, got in that same space. When they're available to attack, they're going to spend all their leftover energy, their stamina, and for each point they spend, they're going to do that much damage to you. And so there's no rolling for the enemy, they automatically hit you. So in this case here, the seeker would hit me for 1 point. Now, if the puker was in range here, he has a range of 2. And so if he was in the space and started his turn there, he would spend both his 2 stamina, he has 2 stamina for his actions, and he would attack me twice, hitting me twice. So you have to be careful where you position yourself and make sure that you don't position yourself vulnerable to the enemies. And so in this situation here, I would probably move and attack that enemy. And so when you attack the enemy, you're going to choose one of your items here and roll against it. So now I only have the hammer, so I can only use the hammer. I get to roll 2 dice, and let's see what I get here. And I get a 2 and a 6. Now the 2 is a miss. The 2 on any of these items here is a miss, a 1 or a 2 is. But the 6 on the hammer is an interesting roll because the seeker requires sharp instruments or sharp weapons to attack it. Now, when I rolled the 6, you'll see on the hammer that it's actually a sharp attack. And so I'm able to kill that seeker with that attack. All you have to do is hit it with the right weapon and it's dead. So he's out. And then after my turn, these 2 would activate and move on. Now this one here is in what is called an impassable area, meaning it can't move from that position, so you don't even activate it, you just skip its turn because it's stuck in that room. But the moment I open that room, then it'll attack me. So keep that in mind. You got to be careful with that. Now the other actions I want to mention real quick are the demolish and the pickup. So anytime you're in the same space with one of the resources, you can pick up those resources by spending one of your action points. But again, looking at your pickup stat, you can only pick up 1 item per turn. So keep that in mind. And the other thing here is you can demolish an obstacle, and the way you do that is you use one of your actions, then you roll against that stat. So that stat is a 2. If you equal that amount or higher, then you have defeated that particular obstacle and you can move through it. And you can just cross it out with your pen to indicate that you have made that an open space. All right, so that wraps up the sample round and explanation of the rules. We're going to move on to the gameplay. And so we're going to start the game. Again, I'm going to go with that objective of leveling up 3 times, which means I'm going to be fighting a lot. So I'm going to need some weapons. So the first thing I want to do is search for some weapons. Again, all the weapons besides the brick cost 2. And so I will lose 2 search supplies. But I will gain a hammer. I think the hammer is going to be good because it can be blunt or sharp. So I want to have that. And once I get some more search supplies, I'll get probably a knife and a bat later, maybe even a gun. We'll see. But I'm ready to go now, and I'm going to move. And I don't think I'm going to go to that 2B spot. I did not like that spot in the in the sample round there. So I'm going to go to 4A. So it's going to take 2 movement, 1, 2 to get there. And so that means I have to spend a fuel or 2 food. We'll spend a fuel for that. All right, so now we have the board for 4A. And so first of all, we're going to start in this upper right-hand corner where it shows the little S there. And then we're going to roll for the different resources. There's 3 empty resources here. So we're going to roll for the first one here. And it's a 4, which means it's a magnifying glass. So I'm going to put an M for magnifying glass. This next one here will roll. And it's a 5, so another magnifying glass. So we'll get a lot of search if I pick up everything. And the last one is another 5. All right, so a lot of search possibilities here. Now, unfortunately, that means I didn't get a lot of fuel or anything, so I have to be careful with that. But we still have 2 food that we can use to move to the next location. So with that in mind, now we have to roll for the turned. There's 2 turned here. Now, there's no blocked areas in this entire map. This is kind of like a wilderness area, and so there's no blocked areas. But we do have to roll for the turn. Let's see what we get. First one is a 5. We'll place it up here. That means it's a puker. So that one's going to try and shoot me from far away with its poisonous puke or whatever it is. All right, the next one here is a 2, and so that's a seeker. All right, this is going to be interesting. So our exits here, our goal is to get supplies and get out, but you know, our objective is to kill things and level up. So I definitely have to work towards that end. Now the seekers go first. So they have 3 actions, 3 stamina. They're gonna go 1, 2, and 3 like that to try and get in range. And so this puts me in a really bad predicament. See, if I move 2 spaces, again, I can only move a maximum of 2 spaces in 1 turn because of my move stat, then I'll end up here, and then the next turn, they're gonna run in there and attack me twice. So I think I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna use my search, my one and only search, and I'm gonna search for a brick. And so now I have a brick that I can use as well. You can use that search action at any time to get new items for your backpack, even during the location. So keep that in mind. So now I have a brick, which means I can throw it. So hopefully I can set myself up to do that. Now, here's the thing. I've got to roll a 5 or a 6 to hit that seeker because it needs to be a sharp attack, and a 5 or a 6 on a brick ends up being a sharp attack. All right, so that means I'm going to spend my first two actions to move, 1 and 2. And then I'm going to attack that brick. And we're hoping for a 5 or a 6. Oh, yeah. That is a 6. That really took out that seeker. That was perfect. So with that seeker dead, instant killed, I gained 1 experience point. So we cross out that box here on my survivor stats here. So that was really good. Now, I don't know if I want to attack that zombie. I'm not sure. But we're going to find out how that goes because now it's its turn. So it's going to go 1 and 2. And now it's in range. It has a range of 2. So it's 1, 2 to attack me. Now I have to decide, am I going to try and attack it? Maybe I should. I have to be really careful though. Now I did forget to mark that I used up my brick and so no longer have a brick. So we move on to the next round. I get to go first. I'm gonna go 1, 2, and now we're in the same space. And so I'm going to attack it with my hammer. And so we'll mark our first use of the hammer here. And we're hoping for a 3 or a 4. And so here we go. And we got a 4. Perfect. So we killed that zombie. That zombie is dead. Even though we had a miss on the 1 die, all we need is 1 matching die that matches that type of damage to do to that particular turn. And again, the hammer does blunt damage on a 3 or a 4, and the puker requires blunt damage to kill it. So it is dead. I worked that perfectly. That actually worked out really well. All right, so we are in one of those weird situations where there's nothing left on the map. So what do? You automatically complete the location. You don't have to go through the motions of moving, picking up, and all that stuff. So you gain all the resources in that area. So we're gonna gain 3 to my search stat, which is really good. Now on top of that, I do get 1 experience for killing that puker, so that worked out. So yeah, there we go. We've completed this location. We'll erase all this stuff here, and then we move on back to the world map. And so we got to decide where we're going to go next. Now, I only have 2 food, which means I can only move 2 spaces from where I'm at. And I'm currently at 4A, and the only place I can go is 3D. And so that's going to take both of my food. And then we start here. There's 2 turned, 3 items. We have to roll for 1 item. Let's see what it is. It's a 6, so that's fuel. So that's really good. We're gonna go for that. Now we're gonna roll for the turned. We'll roll for the top one first, and the top one is a 1. So that's a seeker, okay? So it goes right here. And the next one here is another 1. So 2 seekers. I mean, that's not the greatest thing. They're gonna come and attack me real quick. So I think maybe what's best to do right now is to spend 2 of my search to gain a knife, because I'm gonna bring a knife to this fight. The seekers require sharp damage, so I wanna have something that guarantees sharp damage. So we're gonna go with the knife. Okay, so now it's the seeker's turn. They're gonna move first. This top one's moving. 1, 2, and then 3. All right, so it does nothing here because it used up all its stamina to get into melee range with me. So we're good there. Then it goes 1, 2, and 3, like that. And now it's my turn. Now, pretty much all I can do is attack because, you know, either way, they're going to attack me. So at this point, I'm going to use up one of my uses on my knife, and then I'm going to roll 2 dice, and we're hoping for a 3 and above. That's all I need is a 3 and above, and we get a 6. All right, so that one is dead. On top of that, that gives me an extra experience point, which means I've leveled up now. I've leveled up 1. And so the question is, what do I want to get out of that? Now, I could get more uses out of my items, which seems like a good idea, or it could get more movement. And I think this is what I'm going to do. I'd rather have the ability to run, especially if I don't have the right weapons. So I'm going to increase that stat to 3 from 2. So now I can spend all 3 of my actions to run 3 spaces instead of only 2 spaces before. So that was really good. Now, I need to kind of get away from this guy a little bit. I spent 1 action attacking the other one, so I'm going to move 1 space here. That's as far away as I can get from that guy. Now it's his turn. He's going to go 1, 2, and then attack me, automatically hitting me, taking off 1 hit point. All right, so now it's my turn. I'm going to use the knife again, spending 1 use there. We're going to roll. Let's see what we get. And it's a 3 or 4. Automatically kills it, and so that's done. All right, since there's no enemies left here, I get all the resources. So I'm gonna get 2 fuel and 1 search token. So that was really, really good. 2 fuel and 1 search token. So now I have 2 of each. Yeah, that was a good amount of resources gathered there. We're all set up for the next turn. All right, so where are we gonna go from here? Now in 2D, there's a couple search tokens. In 3B, there's food and a search token. Or maybe I should head up this way. We'll go 4C, maybe? I'm not sure. Now, I do want to note that you cannot go through these red areas. Those are obstacles, so you cannot make your way through them. But I'm not sure which way I want to go. Maybe I should go for the sure thing and go to 3B. So we're going to go to 3B. That's going to cost 1 of my fuels. Still have 1 left, so we're good there. And then we're going to enter into 3B, which happens to be on this page as well. And so place myself right here. We're going to roll for 1 item. Let's see what we get. It's a 1, so that's going to be nothing. We'll just leave it blank. All right. But there still is food and a magnifying glass. Now we have to roll for the turned. There's 1 here, and it's a 3. Oh, nice. We get to skip that. So since it's a 3, which I can only be 3, we skip that one. We'll roll for this one then. And that one is a 6. Oh, no. That is not good. That is not good. You know what that means? That means it's a hunter. Now, the hunter can only be killed by a bullet to the brain. You can only shoot it in the head to kill it. And so that means I need a gun. Okay, I guess it's time to spend my search. I spent all my search to gain a gun. Now I have a gun with 2 uses. Now I have a range of 3, but all ranged attacks, I don't think I mentioned this before, especially with the puker in the previous area, but all ranged attacks had to be done in a straight line. And so I can't shoot him from here. I'm gonna have to move into range. It is my turn, however. So I'm gonna move 1 space and then I'm gonna fire my gun. So it's gonna use up 1 use there. And then we're gonna roll 2 dice to see. We just need a 3 or better. Oh yeah, totally killed him. He's dead. That's gonna get us 1 more experience. We're up to 5 now. We've completed this area. Once again, we cleared the area of hostiles, and now we're gonna get 1 food and 1 search. All right, we're moving on out of this area. We're gonna move on to the next one. Let's see. If I go down to 3A, it does have a fuel, so that's good, but to get to the next location from there, it's gonna be 3 spaces to 2D. But maybe it's worth it. Let's give it a shot. So we're gonna go down to 3A. That's gonna cost me my 1 fuel. So we'll place my character right here. We roll for 1 item there. Let's see what it is. It's a 1, so there's nothing there. And then we have 2, 3 turned. Okay, so first one in this top left-hand corner room is a 6. Oh, we don't wanna go in that room, do we? The next one is a 2. Now you'll notice there's actually a hallway to that room. So he can move freely out of there, but there's 2 barricades here, so he's not gonna be able to go anywhere at that point. And the last one here is a 3 that doesn't get placed. Ooh, this is really interesting. So the question is, do I just go and get that fuel and leave? Or do I kill the guys for the experience? Well, I mean, it's kinda obvious. I wanna kill the guys for the experience, right? The only thing is I don't have a knife to fight the Seeker. I do have the hammer, but I have to roll a 5 or a 6. All right, we'll give it a shot here. Now, the Seeker is supposed to go first, but it's in an impassable area, so it can't go anywhere. Basically, it doesn't see me to do anything. So the thing is I'm gonna open that door, and then it's gonna come after me, all right? So that's just the way it's gonna go. All right, so we're gonna move 1 space and open that door. Okay, so that door requires a 3 to defeat it. So we're using our demolish stat. We can only demolish once per turn. So if I don't demolish it this turn, I have to wait till the next turn. All right, so let's try and get a 3 or better. And it's a 5. Okay, so that door is demolished or obstacle. And so let's see, I moved, demolished, and then I'm gonna move back. Yeah, because now it's gonna require that Seeker to move 3 spaces to get to me. And we're into a new round because this one couldn't move at all either. It's in a completely impassable room. It's got a barricade there and everything. So it stays put. Now this one's gonna go 1, 2, and 3. And now it's my turn. And so I'm gonna use my hammer, hoping that I can use the claw in effectively. And let's see, we're gonna roll. We need a 5 or a 6. And wow, check that out. 5 or 6 indeed. So that guy's dead. So that was really good. All right, now here's the thing is I leveled up. I get to increase one of my stats now. So maybe I should increase my actions so that I have 4 actions now. That would be good. But of course I can still only move 3 times, but then I can move 3 times and attack. So that's really good. All right, so I attacked him and I still get to move. So we go 1, 2, and 3 like so. The hunter does nothing. So now it's my turn. I get to go 1, 2, and then I'm gonna open that door and shoot him. So here we go. Now that wall requires a 3 or better. So let's see what I get here. And it's a 2. Now, if I really needed to, I could just use a magnifying glass and adjust the die by using that ability with a magnifying glass. But I don't need to. I'll just wait till the next turn, roll again. And it's a 4 this time. This time I demolished that. Now I'm gonna shoot him, all right? So we're gonna use one of my bullets for my gun. Now, of course, I need to hit. I only had 1 bullet. Let's see what we get. And it's a 6 and a 4, so he is dead. Perfect. That puts us at 7 experience. We are almost there. 2 more experience and we'll have won the game. Now, since I've completed this area, I'll get all the resources, which is 1 fuel and now I have 2 of the search icons. So not too bad, but we're gonna move on to the next area. All right, so there's only one place I can go from here because I have 1 fuel and 1 food. That's gonna give me 3 movement total, which allows me to go 1, 2, and 3 into 2D. All right, so 2D is this area here. I'll start here, but there's gonna be a hostile right next to me and 1 over here. There's a blocked off area here with some resources. We have to roll for 1 there. See what we get. It's a 1, so there's nothing there. Man, not getting those extra resources. We have to roll for the zombies. So the first one here is on the upper left-hand corner. It's a 2, it's a seeker. And the next one here is a 3. Oh, we skipped that one. Uh-oh, this is not good. I might have lost the game actually. But first, the seeker is gonna move, go 1, 2, and 3 like so. And then I will go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to need, I guess I'm gonna need a new knife. We reacquire a knife and then we're gonna attack him. I didn't realize I was so low on weapons, but there we go. We'll attack him. We need a 3 or more. We get a 6 and a 5, that's perfect. He is dead. Now that gives me my 8th experience point. However, I only get 2 magnifying glasses from this. All right, so now we go back to the overworld here, and I'm gonna spend both of my magnifying glasses, converting them to 1 fuel. Oh, I guess I can make it. I thought it was gonna be worse than that. So all I have is 1 fuel. Am I gonna survive this? Really? All right, so we're gonna spend the 1 fuel. We're gonna go to 4C. We have to go 4C. I have no resources left. I have only 1 knife that can do sharp, which means I have to encounter a seeker, kill it with the knife, and hope my roll is good. If I don't, I lose the game because I have no resources left, no weapons to defend myself. I can't move anywhere else on the map. All right, so let's see how this goes. All right, so here we are in 4C. I'm in this spot here. We're gonna get 2 turned, all right? So the first turn in the bottom left-hand corner here is a puker. Oh no, this is not good. The next one here is, oh, it's a seeker. Oh, it's gonna come down to this. I'm not even gonna roll for the resources here. I just need to kill the seeker and get out of here and I'll win the game, all right? So here we go. The seeker is gonna move 1, 2, and 3 like so. And then it's my turn. And then I'm gonna use my 1 roll with the knife. Oh my goodness, here it comes down to 1 roll. Here we go. All right. Oh, he is dead. Dead. D-E-D, dead. All right. I give myself an extra movement out of that level up. And I go 1, 2, 3. He moves twice and I move out and I have won the game. Check that out. Leveled up completely, 3 times completed my objective, and I have won the game. All right, so on top of having a win-loss condition, you can also calculate your score. And so you can, keep track of all your different scores. It gives you this little nice score sheet here. You circle which objective you've completed, whether you won or lost. If you lost, why. And then you're gonna score yourself. So I get 5 points for the completed objective, 2 points for each completed location, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then 1 point for each remaining resource, which I have none, each usable item, which I have none, each defeated enemy, which I have 9, and then each remaining health point, which I have 4. So if I calculated that correctly, that's around 30 points. All right. And so there you go. That was the tutorial and solo playthrough of Infection Roll and Fight. This is a roll and write game that's coming to Kickstarter later at the end of January here. Again, I have a link in my description if you want to check that out. As a disclaimer, I was given the preview copy, the print and play files for this game to try it out and show it to you here. I was not otherwise paid for this content. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of this game. How'd you like that ending? Came down to one last roll that was pretty epic. But I'm definitely interested in what you think of this game. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here. And I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One. Have a great night.